Yeah.
All right. So we are recording, so feel free to jump in.
Yeah. Let's check on the audience if they can hear us.
All right. Can somebody, let's see, if the audience can hear us, can you just type into the chat box in your WebEx tool pane? Yep, it looks like we got a sound check confirmed. Okay, so we are good to go, Eric.
Hello, good afternoon. This is Eric from Fortress Power. So today you are in the joint webinar about the UL9540 requirement and some of the knowledge about the UL certification. It's jointly made by Fortress Power and Schneider. We will start to talk about the 9540. The entire webinar will run about 1 hour. We'll use around about 30 minutes to 40 minutes, go through some information slide, and then we'll leave 20 to 30 minutes for you to ask questions. If you have any questions, please just type into the chat area, so our people will read those questions, and then we'll try to answer as much as we can. If we couldn't answer all of the questions, we'll leave your email address, and we'll answer the other questions via emails after this webinar. Okay, let's talk about 9540. Let's go next slide, please. Yeah, we'll do a multiple section. We'll do the introduction, and then we'll talk about what is the 9540 and how that applies into the SGIP and the UL9540. What is the basic requirement in different areas? Then we'll look at the product overview. Then we'll go into the question and answer section. Next slide, please. Yeah, we'll talk about our company first. Fortress Power is founded in 2016 by a group of investment banker and the solar veterans. Most of them has more than 10 to 15 years solar experience. Our headquarters is in Southampton, PA. We're like 40 minutes away from Philadelphia, and then around about 1 hour and 30 minutes away from New York. So the facility in the Southampton is primarily for R&D, sales, logistics. We have a test center here too. We also have the other 2 major warehouses, Texas and Florida. We do have smaller warehouses in Los Angeles as well. Our system has been installed in the US, Canada, Central Caribbean, South America, Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Basically, we're selling the product across the board all over the world. We are also the major lithium battery solution provider for the local railway system. And then in Canada, we also provide the energy storage backup system for Hydro-Quebec, who is one of the major power solution grid company for the entire Canada. Next slide, please. UL. Let's talk about the UL9540. Next slide. What is UL? UL is an independent global safety company. This organization writes many different kind of standard for different components. Today we're talking about specifically for the energy storage section. So you should find a UL on most of the electronic components you have, including your computer, including your brass tooth. But here we talk about today is the energy storage section of it. The UL9540 is one of the safety standards. It's written by the UL and introduced in 2016. So in the entire energy storage section, including the inverter and the batteries, usually you will look at UL1973. That is the fundamental safety requirement for the battery. And then UL9540 is more for system level testing. And then on the inverter side, you will see 1741, that is for the inverter safety functions. This 9540, as I mentioned, is specifically right for the energy storage system for home. It covers a wide range of the compatibility tests between the inverter and the battery system. So it primarily focusing on the thermal runaway and the multiple safety functions, which we'll cover in the later slide. Next slide, please. The testing procedure, so we need to have a 2-element equipment in the whole system. So first element is your battery system. It can be one battery or multi-battery system. And then second is your inverter. So both products need to be UL50 certified. On the battery side, UL1973. On the inverter side is 1741. So those need to be listed products. And then the battery system will be tested under certain conditions at rated power. For example, so if the battery is rated 5 kW output powers, then the system will run on the 5 kW, and then there are more than 30 safety and function tests that need to be done in the whole processes. As I mentioned, it's more compatibility test with the rated power, and then it's more focused on the temperature, your safety concern, and then high cutoff, low cutoff. So those prevent the fire hazard happen. Next slide, please. Then now we talk about the SGIP. SGIP is the incentive plan. Not only covers the battery and then the inverter or solar energy storage system. It actually covers multiple different energy generation and then the storage system, including your turbine. And so we list a whole bunch here. But today we're going to talk about specifically on the energy storage system with the lithium battery and the inverters. Let's go next slide, please. So the SGIP overall incentive, so there's a lot of information online. So basically it gives you an incentive by kilowatt hours, right? How much energy you can save. They give you a dollar value, $850 per kilowatt hours. That's how you calculate it. But when you apply for the SGIP incentives, there are many documentation are required, right? So first of all, like Schneider and us, our equipment is already listed on SGIP equipment. So when you submit your system requirement, then that's easier. Just bring our name on, and then that's already in the system. At the same time, so the when you apply for this incentive plan, then they will require for additional certification. Most of them are the safety related. For example, UL1973. For example, UL1741, and then, for example, UL9540. Go next slide, please. Yeah. So the SGIP not necessarily required in UL9540 yet, but in a lot of local jurisdiction, right? That's the necessary requirement. We see that happen mostly in California, Massachusetts, those states with more advanced in terms of adapt into the new code and regulation. So as I mentioned, UL9540 is a standard written by the UL, and usually it's quoted by the National Electric Code or the National Fire Code. And then these two codes usually is also quoted in the National Building Code. That is why they always ask you for certain certification, because it's one organization quotes the other organization for the necessary documentation. Every single sector has their own specialty. So the UL9540 is for local jurisdiction. They will look at it as your installation system has been certified based on the safety function of the UL9540. At this moment, so Schneider and Fortress Power are both approved for UL9540. When you do the installation or you apply for the incentive plan, you won't see any issues. Yeah, next slide, please. So I talked about it in the previous slide. So there's a SGIP public equipment, the list of battery only, and then we're already in that system. And then there are also the incentive examples. So what documentation you should submit to the SGIP organization. There's also something we're going to talk about the siting worksheet, and then we'll look at the SGIP has the contract examples, and then we'll look at the SGIP website. Let's go next slide, please. Yeah, next. So, for example, for both of our battery, so EVO system, that's 18.5 kWh, and also the E-Flex will show example later. So that's both are UL9540 listed. So we have installed many systems together with Schneider. So the local jurisdiction or the SGIP organization are very familiar with our system combination. We'll apply for the permit and the connection to the grid. Usually you will see very less hiccup. If you need any documentation or you need any support from us, you can feel free to contact either Schneider or us. We both can provide you the technical support and necessary documentation, help you work through the whole processes. Next slide, please. Here's another example for the smaller battery system. So we have one large solution for whole house backup. The smaller battery, a lot of people use it for the energy backup or to have a smaller system. So we provide two solutions. You can individually install the battery. It can be wall mount or floor stand, or we provide a pre-wired rack as well. So you can put 4 batteries in one rack, make up your own system as the customer required. Next slide, please. There's a certain sizing tool we talk about when we do the system design. So on the left side, we list out all the inverter model code, and then horizontal, that's all our battery model code. So when you do the combination, try to follow the guideline. So that will give you best optimum, let's say the energy storage lifetime. So in this, under our instruction, everything is warranted for 10 years for performance warranty. If you undersize system, you might overuse the battery, so your warranty time will be shorter. So we propose everybody utilize the standard guideline. So that will get the best economic solution for a customer. Next slide, please.
All right, thanks, Eric. So I'll take over here and just provide a little bit of background of the Schneider integration, how we integrate with Fortress batteries. So what you see here is a complete overview of our product portfolio. So these, our core product is the XW Pro hybrid inverter charger, which has all of the latest grid interactive certifications and compatibility for different regions. It has 2 AC inputs, and it's rated at 6.8 kilowatts of continuous nominal output at 25C. We also have a range of charge controllers for DC coupled systems to keep everything within the Schneider umbrella. We have 3 variations of charge controllers, the Connect MPPT 60, 80, and 100 amp models. The 60 is limited to 150 volts max PV input, and the 80 and 100 are allowable up to 600 volts DC on the PV side. I should mention that, again, the XW Pro is nominally meant for 48 volt battery systems. Now, if you're tying this all together with some of our other accessories, especially on the monitoring front, the Insight Home and Insight Facility are our new edge gateway devices that provide local monitoring and control. And when coupled with Insight Cloud, our remote server, all of that data is accessible through an internet connection in a highly secure format. The Insight Cloud platform is completely bidirectional as well, so you do have full monitoring and control capabilities. You can make settings adjustments remotely, firmware updates very easily from anywhere in the world. Additionally, we offer a number of other product accessories that offer different functions to enhance the benefits to the user. Namely, the Connect battery monitor is basically a shunt-based Coulomb counter that will provide an accurate indication of the battery state of charge. This is compatible with both lead acid and lithium battery chemistries. It can be tailor fit to any battery chemistry by just simple adjustment of the parameters. Our balance of systems components include our full-size power distribution panel, which can support up to 3 XW Pros tied to a single PDP. And then for more cost-effective single-unit systems, we offer the mini PDP, which mounts directly below the unit for easy installation, wiring, etc. We have some commissioning tools namely the config tool is one that has been around for a while. It utilizes local PC-based software that plugs directly into the ZAN bus network. This can be a useful tool for multi-unit systems if you need to calibrate the AC output voltage of multi-inverter systems so that they evenly balance the load. And you can also, another useful feature is the ability to save configured settings files in an easily downloadable format if you're trying to replicate cookie cutter systems with, components within the same family. So if you want to, if you have a bunch of charge controllers in a DC coupled system and you want to just replicate the settings from one to the next, you can upload the same settings file to each one in a way to easily replicate those settings. We also have some code compliance features, including the arc fault and rapid shutdown solution, the MPPT disconnect RS. So that has a built-in stanchion arc fault detector that is listed to UL9540 It also has a built-in TIGO transmitter that's used for connection for module level power electronics with TIGO's TS4-F series of fire safety receivers for module level rapid shutdown. So both of these are compliant with NEC 2017. And then we also offer the generator, automatic generator start module, which is convenient for prioritizing different triggers to turn on your generator on the secondary AC input. Is traditionally how it's used. You can start the generator based on load capacity, based on battery voltage, battery state of charge, and a whole bunch of other triggers. The AGS is custom programmable and can support up to 14 different types of generators. So when we look at the core of our platform, again being the XW Pro, what makes it such a reliable performer for backup power is mainly its surge tolerance is definitely noteworthy. This is due to the use of a toroidal transformer that weighs about 80 pounds inside the unit. This low frequency design allows it to have robust surge capabilities up to 200%, the nominal output rating at 25C. So it can do over 12 kilowatts of surge. It has an internal high-speed transfer switch that has a response time of 8 milliseconds, so that can qualify for UPSs in some case. Again, as I mentioned, 2 AC inputs integrated with the transfer switch, so all of the switching can be done internally for grid and generator. And again, they can respond based on user preferences when you want to change from one to the other or rely on battery power. Again, the product is in its 3rd generation. Originally, the legacy XW dates back to 2006, so it's gone through several product enhancements over its life cycle. Again, the XW Pro is the latest and greatest iteration of this, so it carries through the same proven reliability of the original design. And this does include a 10-year warranty in the U.S. It's a 5-year standard warranty. It can easily be extended to 10 years just by simple registration through our online form. This is just a look in a little more detailed technical specifications of the XW Pro. We hit on many of them, but again, just highlighting the robust surge capacity, 30 minutes at 8,500 watts. For a minute, you can do 12,000 watts. And you'll notice that they are differentiated between the standard split phase variant as it is normally configured, and then you can actually configure it for single phase 120 volt only operation. This would be used mainly for 3-phase systems when you're stringing together a cluster of 3 inverters that each are responsible for their own leg of a 3-phase 120 208 volt system. So the nominal output is a little bit different because at 120 volts, your 60 amp breaker is derated to using the 80% rule for NEC. That's the discrepancy there. It does have, again, a robust charger capability as well, 140 amps maximum for the AC charger. That is derated to 120 amps for the, if it's configured to 120 volt. And a minimum battery size is listed as 440 amp hours. That's actually really a carryover from more of the lead acid days. With the lithium batteries and the higher charge tolerance, many times you can size well below that. Again, you just want to make sure that your battery is rated to accept the full input from either the AC charger or the DC charger source from PV. And just to highlight really quickly, again, some of the magic that ties it all together is our Insight energy management platform, which consists of 3 variations for local and remote monitoring. Insight Local is essentially what you would connect to on your laptop. If you're locally on site, maybe you don't have access to the internet, but you want to just connect to it directly, either through Ethernet or a Wi-Fi hotspot built into the gateway. You can access Insight Local via any web browser, and you can again make all of the settings and configuration directly on your screen there. We also offer Insight Cloud, as I mentioned, to provide all of that data for each one of your sites on the same user management profile. You can see all of your sites through Insight Cloud, and you can go into each one at the device level and make any specific changes to the configuration that are required. Additionally, we have the Insight mobile app, which is supported by both Android and iPhone operating systems. So this would provide, again, a convenient means for monitoring the system either locally or remotely, whether you have generally with internet access through the mobile app. And you can actually see changes occurring in real time in terms of the power flow graph. So you can actually, if you want to get more of an instantaneous read than, say, what you get in Insight Cloud updates every 15 minutes, whereas Insight Mobile actually connects directly to the gateway side of things, so it's seeing the data in real time. So it can be useful to use both or all 3 variations in some extent. And again, just to reinforce, we do prioritize our advanced cybersecurity for all of our software tools and energy management with the Insight platform. Data is encrypted using the latest cybersecurity standards. Any information that is stored, again, is also encrypted both locally and in the cloud. And again, this provides peace of mind for all of our customers. So that brings us to the Q&A section of the presentation. Let me see, Jack, are you on the line now and have access to look at the questions that came in?
Yes, I am. Right now we only have one question, and I can answer that. Yeah, we are going to share this presentation, so this will be available for everyone to have. Are there any other questions?
Yeah, let's see. There may have been some in the chat window too.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's see. I see a few. Hang on one second. Yeah, so I see one here. Says from Thomas, will the Connect battery monitor provide accurate state of charge information for lithium batteries? Is it worth installing with the Fortress battery? So that's a good question, Thomas. The answer to that is yes, it's certainly compatible with lithium batteries, lithium iron phosphate being sort of the most commonly ones used in our markets. If you're using Fortress batteries in an open loop sense, without any communication between our components, then certainly it can be beneficial to have that external measurement of the battery state of charge then relayed onto the ZAN bus network to the Schneider components so that we can use that for more accurate battery regulation or various triggers. So it really depends how you're using it. If it's open loop and no communication is supported, then yes, it would be beneficial to have access to that state of charge information. If it's closed loop and we are compatible with Fortress Power's products, the eFlex and the eVault, I believe the eFlex we just, I think you guys, Eric, have a application note on your website that details some of the integration procedure to do closed loop integration with our inverters and the Fortress eFlex.
Correct.
And so that can be done, and then that state of charge information is already shared with the inverter through that physical communication link to our gateway. So again, then you wouldn't need any external measurement. You wouldn't need the battery monitor. Only if you're doing sort of an open loop configuration is it really beneficial to have that. Hopefully that helps to clear up that question.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
And Jake, I've got a question here that came in. So talking about closed loop communication. So right now we do have closed loop communication with Fortress, so that negates the need to use our battery monitor. Right now we have that set up to work with a single inverter. We're working on doing more advanced systems, more units in parallel in the future. Eric, I don't know if you'd like to talk about closed loop communication from the Fortress side.
Yes, so the smart BMS system collect the data and then send the data all the way up to the gateway. In our configuration, because our battery support the multiple battery in parallel, the large battery can do 20 pieces in the battery bank, and the smaller battery can do 15. What happened is when you do the closed loop communication, you just need to connect one battery instead of connect all of them, because the battery will talk to each other, and then the battery you plug in as master is going to aggregate the information and send up to the Schneider gateway. whatever you see the information from Schneider Gateway is your whole battery bank's information. You save a lot of time if you want to wire up the multiple battery into the same gateway, and it has a limitation too. So in this system, you just need to connect one battery, then the master battery is going to do the job for you.
Okay. Eric, here's another question you're probably best able to answer. So the question is does UL9540 require the batteries and inverter to be in one box?
It is not the quick answer. So the 9540 testing is not required on the in the same box. So it's a little bit confusing when they say ESS system. So that's probably make you think about it. The system has to be in one enclosed enclosure. As a matter of fact, it's UL9540 is more about the compatibility testing.
Okay.
Yes.
The next question is a Schneider question. I'll take this one. It says, is Insight replacing the system control panel? And with the introduction of Insight app, okay, that's just the question. So no, Insight is not replacing, Insight Home and Insight Facility are actually replacements for the COM box, which many of you may remember. But this is our remote management, remote control, remote monitoring device. The system control panel is just for a local monitoring, local control. So that they're kind of, many systems are actually used simultaneously together. Okay, next question. For a 9 kW PV roof mount system, how much does it cost for a battery backup system, Fortress AC coupled?
Okay.
I think that's something we would probably need to take offline just to see all the particulars of that system, you know, especially on the AC coupled side, because it depends on who you're having for that, using for that grid tie inverter, you know, whether it's like an in-phase or an SMA or somebody like that. So I think we'd have to take that one offline to answer that question.
Yeah. Okay.
When will multi-inverter closed-loop communication be available? That's a good question. We're hoping that's going to be available sometime in late Q3, early Q4. It's really just some development that needs to happen on the Schneider side. So we should have it definitely before the end of the year, but we're targeting kind of late Q3, early Q4. Okay, in Canada with 9540, can you locate the battery plus inverter inside the house or garage? This question, I guess, it really depends on what the requirements are. You know, in California, as an example, depending on the size of the battery bank, sometimes the batteries can go inside, sometimes they have to go outside. In Canada, it really depends on which utility district you're in and what the rules are for that utility district. And I don't know, Eric, if you want to expand on that.
You probably want to look at the building code or the local, the Canada Fair Marshal Code. So those are usually give you a clear indication what you can put in and what you cannot. Most of the common practice is in the house, the dwelling area, so you cannot. But usually the garage is the place where you can put the energy storage system in. Because the garage is kind of isolated with the fireproof, the drywall system.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next question, Eric, I think this one is for you. Is the combination of the Fortress battery and the Schneider inverter considered an ESS, energy storage system, according to the NEC?
It does. I think it's just, as I mentioned, it does consider it a whole system.
Yeah, I would think so too.
Yeah.
Okay, are you seeing other states besides California restricting ESS to licensed electricians only? I think the short answer to that is yes. In other states, it's actually happened quicker than California, but I have heard about this new requirement that only licensed electricians can do these installations in California. I haven't heard of any other specific states recently that have adopted this. Many states kind of adopted this several years ago. I don't know, Eric or Jake, if you've seen this in other states.
I think that there's two types of license, C4 and C10. I don't know if the California passed the bill or not for the higher requirement for installation of the system.
I'm pretty sure they actually just passed that.
I see.
We were just talking about this the other day, so I'm pretty sure that did pass.
I see.
Okay. Are the batteries only indoor rated, or is there an approved NEMA 3R enclosure available?
For the large battery, is indoor rated. If you want to put the outdoor, we usually not right under the sun. You need to build a certain structure to protect battery. Not necessarily need to be NEMA 3, NEMA 4 to the standard, but the smaller battery is IP65. As long as it's not exposed to the direct rain, it's fine. It's designed for you to mount on the wall.
Okay. Are there smart panels being tested in these systems?
Answer is no. I don't know, Jack, from your side, do you guys test with anybody?
We're starting to. I wouldn't say that it's that far along yet. You know, Square D has a smart panel that they're going to be launching, but we've done some internal testing with that. Jake, do you know of any others that we've worked with at this point?
No, not really. Yeah, I mean, I would say again the most experience we have is with Square D in-house.
Okay. How did the UL9540A testing play a role in the UL9540 certification for Schneider building energy storage system?
Okay, let me answer this question. For now, so when they have the similar name, 9540, 9540A, at this moment, it's two different testing. So 9540A is particularly for battery, not including the inverter. It's we call the large-scale fire testing. It's a different testing.
Yeah, and 9540A is not a requirement for UL9540 certification.
For now, yes. Yeah.
For now, yeah. Okay, if one does not have the critical load panel, will the inverter safely trip if large power is taken from the battery? So it sounds like this is a question, you know, what will happen if the inverter is overloaded? So you know, the inverter will just, it will shut off. Jake, maybe you could take that a little further, but you know, it's not going to harm the system, but the system will stop backing up that load.
Yeah, sorry, what was the clarification needed there? I'm sorry, Jack.
Yeah, if there's anything else you wanted to add to that, but if you're basically doing a whole home backup and you have too much power on the main panel for the inverter to handle, either it's you know, too long of a duration of a certain load or too high of capacity, what will happen? And you know, the inverter, once it reaches a certain point, will shut off and stop powering that load. There's not anything. It's not going to cause a safety issue, but it's you know, and it's not going to harm the product, but it's going to stop powering that load to protect itself.
Yeah, it'll be an overload condition. So, you know, potentially that could resolve itself if the load level goes back down below the allowable capacity. Otherwise, it will require manual intervention if it, you know, if it's continuous for too long.
Yeah. What is the weight of the batteries? Are they modular for larger units?
For larger unit, it's around about 400 pounds. I don't have the exact number on top of my head. Usually, if you usually the way they install it is so the truck will dump on the dump right at the job site. So if it's installed in the garage, we have a full wheel. you can roll the battery in and then just mount it on the wall to stabilize it. The small battery is at 110 pounds, more or less. So it is modular. If you buy our flex rack, it has a bus bar pre-built in, then you can do 1, 2, 3 combination up to 4 in one enclosure per project.
Okay.
Yeah.
When will the eFlex wall box be available?
We have we already made the prototype, so we're doing the testing. We don't know. I don't have exact time, so when will be launched for the wall box.
Okay.
Currently, if you mount the eFlexes on the wall, there is not much concern because we already provided the wall mount kit, so you can mount it on the wall. It's a full aluminum product. It looks like a furniture style. You don't have to cover it with a box on it. It's a low voltage system.
Okay. Does the large Fortress battery enclosure have its own HVAC and/or built-in fire suppression?
No, we don't. It is usually for a commercial system. It's not very common for residential system. Commercial system, that's what they built in. They designed it for the different purpose of the use case.
Okay. Will Fortress be certifying for UL9540? And if so, when?
We are already certified for UL9540.
Or excuse me, 9540A. I'm sorry, 9540A. Sorry about that.
Yes, we will. So the smaller product, I think, by the end of the year, so that will be certified. The larger product will be early next year, sometime. I don't have an exact time window because we have to see how the test is going.
Okay. Once the inverter trips on overload, how do you restart it, or is it an auto start?
It'll. I think if it overloads, it will automatically restart and clear the error if the load capacity falls below the allowable tolerance. I think if it trips more than 3 times in either 30 seconds or 3 times in a minute, then it will require a manual shutdown. You'll have to, or manual restart. You'll have to, basically fix the load to make sure it's not overburdensome beyond the output rating, and then restart the inverter.
Okay. And that's all the questions we have. Are there any more questions? All right, then. Well, just, I guess, some housekeeping. So we are going to make this presentation available online. You can also find the certificates of compliance on our website, the Fortress website, and we're going to have that on the Schneider website pretty soon. And I'd like to thank everybody for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.